Hey, welcome back to Evil's Comics. This guy right here is Evil Mike, or Mike if you prefer, and I got a review for you today. This is going to be my review on Stephen King's The Dark Half, originally released in 1989 by Signet Novels. Before I get started on my review, please like, comment, subscribe on this guy's channel. Hit the notification bell. I don't really have a schedule, I never have, but it'll keep you in touch when I do drop a video if you do enjoy my content. So Stephen King's The Dark Half. It's one of the stories that I'd never read. It's also been made into a movie, and I'd never seen the movie, so I was kind of interested. I thought I had a general idea what this story was, but I did not. I was wrong. And a little bit into the beginning of the book, it kind of presented some of the frustration starting the book. I had the concept this was something along the lines of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, like the protagonist like turns into the antagonist during the story, and that's not necessarily what this book is about. It's basically plays on the idea that Stephen King has the pen name Richard Bachman, which is well known now. But this plays on the riff of that. You know, what if Stephen King had killed off his pen name Richard Bachman, which was a fictional, writer or whatever. What if that fictional writer became, like a real life, entity, and was pissed off that his creator had tried to kill him off, kind of thing. And that's what the basis of this story is. It also is part of the Castle Rock kind of like saga. I don't want to call it a trilogy, but it's one of the main books that have a lot of the characters from the Castle Rock saga. So, and I have not really read a lot of those stories. I've seen some of the movies like Needful Things and stuff like that. So it wasn't really interesting. Like, it's not my first outing with Alan Pangborn. He was in the Secret Window, Secret Garden story that I read recently, but kind of a little bit in that story. This one he was predominantly featured. I want to say that the way the book is set up in the very beginning is my only complaint. It's a little like discombobulated on as far as like what's going down. I had to like go back and read it twice to kind of get the grasp of like, we are met with this this writer, and his name is Thad Beaumont, and he is known for doing fiction, but more like drama pieces, not really like horror or suspense or anything like that. At one point he does create a pen name under the name George Stark. And that actually is a riff on the real author, where he got the idea to use the pen name Richard Bachman. It's like an Easter egg. I forget the real author that it was based off of. But anyways, it's about that Beaumont and his family. And one day, Alan Pangborn, who's from, Sheriff Alan Pangborn, who's from the Castle Rock saga, comes into his house accusing him of murder, and saying that they have all this proof on him and stuff like that, and specifically his fingerprints, and come to find out that it couldn't have been him type of situation, because he was at this thing, way across the country kind of thing. And it just starts this whole like fantasy journey from here. It's really a murder mystery with suspense and a supernatural vibe going on, because once you find out what George Stark really is, is it this whole writer, and his like split personality, then he really is the murderer, or is it this supernatural entity that is, bent on this revenge trip? But I can say my thoughts. It was fantastic. I mean, I want to say like it took a little while. I want to say like maybe 75-80 pages in is where where the hooks got dug into me. But once you realize that's what it is, it's it's this guy trying to save his family, save his friends that are related to the issue, versus the supernatural force that's coming, for you. There's also this other element that it isn't really described or explained until the end. It is kind of brought up throughout the book, but it's the whole the Sparrow supernatural part of the book, and I really love that. I ate it up. But I really enjoyed it all the way through, and I mentioned a couple of the main characters, but did not mention a lot of the other players. But Dad Beaumont's wife Liz plays a major part in the story, and his kids in general, the twins, and but ultimately I loved this book. I thought it was great. I'm not going to say it was like my favorite Stephen King read, but especially without me even not knowing like a coherent, like what the plot was about and getting into it, it was fantastic. Like it got to the point, and I want to say around this mark of the book where I didn't want it to finish. It was so good, kind of thing. And I want to say, like, there are predictable parts. I kind of felt like I had an idea, around like maybe the 75% mark. But honestly, I want to say that's King building up those, helping me out with those predictions and stuff like that. It's, because especially with the supernatural stuff, it is really hard to gauge where the supernatural stuff is going. So as far as endings goes, I will say it does have kind of an abrupt ending. There is like, there's an epilogue after the main, conclusion takes place. But I want to say the epilogue kind of gives you a little taste of what could happen after the story, kind of thing. I don't know if there needed to be more versus like, these people were okay, kind of thing. Okay, so I will touch base on the movie, because after I finished the book, I waited a little bit, let the thinking and what I thought of the book stew in and stuff like that, and then I went and watched the movie. And I will say it was a pretty faithful adaptation. I was surprised, and I wasn't aware of this, but George A. Romero was the one who directed and specifically written the script from the book to the movie, so I was like instantly like pleased and surprised on that notion. I know who the main actor was, and I know I'm probably gonna, so I'll just put it here with editing magic. I want to like Timothy Holden. I don't know. I really enjoyed all the actors, but the surprise actor was who they cast for Alan Pangborn. I'd seen Needful Things, and I think in that movie it's an older actor that they picked for this character. And this one they went with Mickey Rourke, and I really liked his portrayal of this character. And honestly, I was, it didn't happen, but it would have been nice to see him in consecutive, roles. Like, it would have been nice to have him in Needful Things. Not saying I don't like the other actor, and I'm drawing a blank on his name, bad with names. But I did like it. I was really skeptical on how they were going to do the ending. The ending is really supernatural. It's really horrific. Not as far as like gruesome or anything, but it is a very tense and dark scene where the conclusion takes place. So I was really curious to see where the film went in that regard, and I think they did an excellent job. I couldn't imagine how they were going to do it during that time, because this is a later 90s or early 90s film. But I want to say that I didn't know how they were going to do that with early CGI and stuff, because it was such a supernatural like scene, how the book ended, kind of thing. And I think he did an excellent job with recreating. I mean, there was like certain elements that were just lost from the book to the, but I want to say it was budgeting reasons. I mean, there were some really hard things, really hard things that I don't think they could have done on film or got away with it as far as like humane society is considered, because it did deal with animals as far as the sparrows. But and I'm not good at ranking. I don't know where this book ranks compared to another even Stephen King book, but I want to say it's high up there. I really enjoyed this read all the way through. It was engaging. I want to say it's about a 500 page book, a little less than 500 pages, like 460 something, but like I loved it all the way through, especially once you got past what the book was, and that was probably the only drawback. Like, and I want to say that's related to me, just because I didn't know what the plot of the book was, kind of thing. I believe if maybe I knew what the plot was, it would have been a different story. I don't know. But that's my review. These are my thoughts. If you have read Stephen King's The Dark Half, let me know what you thought about it down below. Let's talk about it. If there are things that you didn't like about it, I will say in the movie, I was really surprised that they left out one major scene that I was hoping to see, and it practically was easy. Honestly, it was one of the better action scenes in the movie. This will be spoilery, so if you haven't read the story or seen the movie, click away. But there is one scene where George Stark, the killer, is going to this apartment building, and he has these two cops, and he does this whole blind man gag thing to like pretend that he's blind and get close to the cops, and he ends up killing the cops using this advantage. But it's such a great scene in the book, so I was really hoping to see that in the movie, and it's one of the scenes that they cut, and I feel like out of all the scenes besides the ending, I want to say that was like the best, like coolest scene, because you were in George Stark's perspective. And I want to say that was another drawback of the movie for me, is in the book, the main character, Thad Beaumont, and George Stark are described completely different. Like, their physical appearance are different. Their even their facial structures and stuff like that, because they're supposed to be two different people. And in the movie, they use the same actor to portray both, George Stark, and it's not that he did a bad job, and they did kind of have him look a little different, like his hair was slicked back, and they did have some makeup to make his jawbones look a little, but it was still the same guy. I kind of wish they would have picked another actor to play the George Stark part. But yeah, they're probably worried about paying somebody else, kind of. I don't know. These are my thoughts. Let me know down below what you thought. Honestly, I loved it. That was one of the defining things about it, is once you find out that the killer was the supernatural thing, and it didn't look like that Beaumont, and got away from the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I really enjoyed that part of it. But again, these are my thoughts. Comment down below what you thought about the movie, the book. I don't know. Again, I do have my Dark Tower, read along coming up this Saturday. If you don't know about it, check out my community tab. Check out like my shorts, my IG. I have information relating to that, but it's coming this Saturday. We're reading the first book, the Gunslinger. It's gonna take place February 3rd. If you're watching this on the rewind, like Saturday at I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 8 p.m. Central. It's a lot of times, I don't know, but 9 p.m. Eastern I think is the standard. But guys, I'll let y'all go. Thanks for watching. Bah.